The pressure's on.
The pressure's on to say
The
something
pressure's
incriminating. And
on.
we go live. Here we are, and we're live.
I
So
know. I
happy
was trying to
Monday,
think of the
everyone.
most embarrassing thing I did last week so that I could start with that. And I think the most embarrassing thing I did last week, honestly, is I went for a date with my husband and we were home from dinner at 6:15.
And you were home for dinner at 6:15.
From
Okay.
dinner. Like old
Well,
people.
like old people. Yeah. Okay.
Right? Like home.
Yeah. Bonnie and I met on Match.com, and we each said we had 2.5 dates, right, before we met each other. And one of my half date was 30 minutes way too long. So anyway, that's not what we were here to talk about today.
Let's talk
Welcome,
about magazines.
happy Monday, everyone. We
Happy
just keep
Monday.
everybody on your toes, just like you jumped into a conversation in the middle, which you have. And I'm Greg Dixon at Shared Visions Unlimited. I do multimedia publishing and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm here with Jill Burk, and she's done quite a few other things too. Our main topic will be digital magazines, but she has written a few books, co-written a few books, helped publish a few things like related to travel, which I can relate to because
yeah, you're even a bigger traveler than I am.
Yeah, I wrote a story called 18,000 Miles Between the Alligator Line and the Snow Line.
Oh,
so yeah, we went all the way from Vancouver to Key West and all places in between.
Fantastic.
So and you also have a business in Calgary.
I do. Yeah, I have a wellness business, and yeah, I've been doing that for 20 years. So earlier this year, I thought, oh my God, I need something new, because you do need things new. I needed things new. And so I thought, how much fun would it be to start a magazine?
Yeah. So did you start the travel magazine first? Is that?
Yeah. So originally, actually, when I first contacted Kevin from Magcast, a colleague and I have been working on alternative medicine, a program so that massage therapists and others can do some of their required learning online, which is less expensive and less time consuming and less travel orientated. And we've been working on that. We're still working on that on the back burner, but I've been a bit I'm so in love with this magazine thing that it just sort of took over a little bit. And so when I first contacted them, I was doing the Hard 75. I was walking every day. I was thinking about lots of things. And I called my girlfriend and I said, honestly, that we need to start a magazine. It's the only way we're going to be able to afford to reach people the way we want to reach them and control our message and really talk about the things we want to talk about. So I reached out to Kevin, and when he gave me the tour of how this whole thing works, and just talking to him and listening to how they developed this program, I called him back and I said, honestly, I want to come and work for you. And I don't think he knew quite what to say. So he said yes. So now I'm doing a little bit of both. I'm getting my travel magazine, Savor Europe. My goal, anybody who knows me, my goal is to be in Europe all winter, every winter, and hopefully somewhere where there's no snow in Europe. And so I started with Savor Europe instead of the wellness magazine. And then I'm doing outreach. So I'm helping other people who are having a hard time finding their voice in their industry, or they already have a voice. They have some ascension marketing. They have lots of contacts to launch their own magazines so that they can also control their message. It's just sort of everything I love.
Everything you love.
Everything I love. Helping people be the best they can be.
Yeah. So we do, we've been helping people publish books and various multimedia things.
Yeah.
And one of the options is we will create flip books. And I have a client in Merritt. Well, not a client. I'm volunteering my time. and they had a proposal that I created it into a flip book, which is kind of like it's in magazine format.
Yeah.
And so, so there are quite a few options, but you're with Magcast,
Yeah.
and it's a bit different than some of the others in that it's more full service. It's got marketing things built in. And you and I were having a conversation before. Like I noticed on Magcast, you can, if you've got a PDF of a book or a slide presentation or anything, you can upload it and it can convert it. But it also, I know, like those really glossy productions with
Yeah.
lots of overlay and full bleed and all that sort of stuff, is I know the pain and suffering way to do it is to do it with Adobe InDesign or something like that.
Right? Like, unless you're really an expert at Adobe. So
Yeah.
once a publisher decides, or a person decides they want to be a publisher, so they want to go from being just an average person on the street to being a superhuman publisher, and they join forces. They go through something that's called the bobsled run, which is 5 sessions of training. But you also get one-on-one training with Damien, who's very good at helping you determine your niche and get things organized. And then when you've got all your articles ready to go, everything's good, we actually work with a company where you can, for $300, they'll format everything, put it all in, do all the beautiful things that most of us, you have. I know the skills to do some of that stuff. But honestly, when I do it, it looks like a kindergarten experiment gone
Yeah.
wrong.
Well, I use Photoshop a lot,
Yeah.
and I say I can use maybe 7% of Photoshop well. The rest, and the thing with Adobe products is it's like you're no longer in Kansas. It's got the same name on it, but the user interface seems to be different every single app. It's like they've got a
Right?
new team, you know. So,
Yeah.
and I've done stuff in InDesign because I've had to, and in you know, in the book design world, if you're doing something really fussy, like a children's book or something with tons full bleed and things, something like InDesign is almost the only tool. You've got
Yeah.
to just find somebody who knows it. But what it sounds like is you've got some really good. I was just flipping through the website and some of the training stuff, and you've got some really good tools, so you can do that online.
It, honestly, when I talk to people and they're concerned about the time commitment and the gap, right? Like every time you go into something, there's a gap. There's a gap between, who I was before I started publishing magazines and who I am now. And filling that gap and the knowledge and the information is always intimidating for
Yeah.
anyone. Otherwise, I mean, it's the reason why some of us stay stuck in things for a long time. But they really have both a strategy and a commitment to taking publishers from knowing nothing to knowing everything they need to know, and providing not just the tools, but how to use the tools as you go along. And for some of us, I am not techie at all, at all. And I have been able to do it, which I think, you know, is its own brand of miracle.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's really
I'm
fun.
gonna just put just something on the screen here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a kind of things. I don't think any of these ones are clickable to show you an example, but like for me, like the best of these things is like um, a like a Vogue magazine or a digital magazine with that kind of production value and layout value,
Yeah.
and they're gorgeous. Sometimes beautiful is not readable, but the best magazines manage to combine very good style with readability. And
And honestly, the funnest part about doing a digital magazine, like obviously you put words in, and pictures, but you can also embed video. So
yeah,
if you've got a story to tell and a video is the best way to tell it, especially with travel, sometimes a picture
yeah,
is just such a small part of what you need to show that a video is so fantastic. And with a digital magazine, you could embed all of that stuff. We could take this interview that you and I are doing, we could take the highlights out. I could write an article about it, but then I could also embed the whole interview so that if somebody really wanted to hear every single thing we said, they could hear it. And that's a unique feature for digital magazines that I think is really groundbreaking. I love it.
Yeah, it makes it's a multimedia magazine. You can embed all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Sign up forms, all the marketing
Sign up
stuff.
forms. Like,
Yeah.
so if you've written a book and it's on Amazon or Chapters and you want to embed a link, you can embed the link and somebody can go right in and purchase it. We have a lot of publishers that work with courses, like the Calligraphy Crush magazine that was in the last one. They do workshops, both online and in person, I think. I haven't been to one. But all of that, all the links to take the workshops to whatever are all embedded right in the magazine. So then you also have that Ascension marketing space there where you can, add that to your pocket full of dough that you can make.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we do that with with their printed books, we'll put in QR codes in order to dump, and then in the EPUB version, we can put links directly, graphics and links straight into the resources. And for people, some of our clients are really wanting something that'll give open doors to other opportunities and presentations. They're not necessarily trying to make money on their books, which is almost nobody does, but
nobody does. Right.
some people do. You can't really say you can't, but
right. Yeah.
But it's like it's sort of like the percentage who make more money than they paid making the book are very small, like probably less than 1%.
Oh, I would say way less than 1% from all the, but if your book is part of, especially for nonfiction authors or people that are telling a story about a place, the ability to bring people in different ways and move them on to different revenue streams is I think really great in a book as it is in a magazine.
And a magazine. Yeah. And I think that's something worthwhile because you can, especially if you were doing, something like travel related or with a lot of illustrations or multimedia things, that you just go directly to the digital magazine. Could be the platform for it.
We have a publisher in California who has a magazine called Acquisition Aficionado, and they do business profiles, right? And so for them, they have so many fantastic revenue streams. They can sell their covers, they sell profiles. Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. What I'd really love to find is more artists who want to do magazines that would talk about like how they make pottery and then link to their studio and other people's studios and bring in collaborators that do fun glazes or whatever, knitting, fun patterns. I don't know. I think that would be a really great way to build your business as a potter or as a knitting studio or
I kind of have an affinity for fabric art. I'm not doing it, but I ended up dropping in on shows and things. And that's the kind of thing you almost need video to show it because it's dimensional and it's really hard to show in just a still photograph. And that's where something like an artist featuring magazine, like it could be a magazine for an exhibition or something, and then you just have combination of photos, stories of the artists, and a little bit of video, and as you said, the video of the process. Like I think that's really,
and artists are such fascinating people, right? Like if you had an art gallery or you were even just involved in a certain type of art, the artists that you work with and that you meet, and they've got fascinating stories. The methods that they use are so interesting. I think that would make a wonderful magazine. Yeah.
I had it's a long story, but I ended up with a client in Delray Beach Florida called the Shared Visions Gallery, and
Oh,
it the reason I got this, I was one of the first people to put an online art gallery in the 1990s, right?
oh,
And so I had created this site, and I got this cryptic email, and then I got a phone call, and it turned out that the fellow says, "Well, you know." He didn't say it outright. He says, "Well, we've got this gallery in Delray Beach, Florida, called the Shared Visions Gallery, Western and Native American art." He says, "With the possible exception of a gallery in Scottsdale, Arizona, we think we have the finest gallery of its kind in America." So anyway, I hadn't registered sharedvisions.com yet, and so we had this conversation. First of all, I wanted to know how come, because I guess the Chamber of Commerce had put a couple of pages up. So he went and went online. I guess it was Alta Vista, and looked for Shared Visions Gallery, and the first 10 pages were mine. So he wanted to know how I did that, and then and then he asked if I could register a domain and do a website for the gallery, and I was on the phone like this. I went,
right.
okay. Anyway, yeah, and
So
so
people could buy their art, buy it.
no, no. It was an online brochure because they had one of their artists. They sold $1 million worth of his stuff the year before on commission, Dave McGarry. So what they sent me is about 10 issues of Southwest Art, where their artists were featured in it. They sent a bunch of photographs of the stuff that they represented. So it was really just an online presentation of what they had, and people would fly to Delray Beach, Florida, and go. It was one of these things that the people would,
Destination gallery.
a destination gallery. So yeah, so it was and they invited me to come and visit them, and I never did get down there, but I met them. They went on a boat cruise out of Vancouver to Alaska. So I drove them around Vancouver. We went to the UBC Museum of Anthropology, and we went down there. Quite a few Native galleries, Inuit galleries in the Vancouver area. And then we went to the Vancouver Art Gallery. So I gave them a tour, so I got to meet them. And then years and years later, I went to Delray Beach for an American Writers and Artists Incorporated boot camp in the Marriott Suites, where they offered to put me up. And the gallery used to be across the street, right on Eastern Avenue. So it's kind of a funny connection.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The world is small, man. Hey.
Yeah, but it's all that kind of stuff. Like I don't know if you're familiar with the Southwest Art magazine. They're absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, I was vaguely familiar, like not super familiar, but
yeah, just all the stuff, you would see those artists. Many of the artists were from, like when I was traveling, he said I should go visit Sedona, Arizona, because many of the artists that they represented lived there. And also
Sedona is very high on my list of places to go.
Yeah, places to go. And in Santa Fe, and various places in New Mexico, really, really high-end galleries. And that's the kind of their artists lived in those states, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Maybe some in Texas and a few in California, but that whole Southwest look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but all that stuff would be stunning in a digital magazine.
So great in a digital magazine.
Yeah, they probably are. I haven't looked at Southwest magazine, but they probably have a digital version of it now.
One would assume, but if they don't, then call me.
Yeah, they should call you. Yes. And there's a contact information on there.
And there's the contact information right below.
At Maghouse, and then make an appointment. Yes, just in case your magazine is not in digital form yet. Here's an opportunity.
Do we both know Tracy Rickards?
Did
I see that? No.
Yeah, I think possibly. And there was somebody on your list. I'm just going to snoop here.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Tracy Rickards has actually set me up with somebody downtown Calgary who has a First Nations gallery. and I'm hoping to get down there this week. I was just to kind of see what they've got and see how it would work. I'm just super pumped about it.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, I think is she in CIBN?
I don't know if she is or not. Like, honestly, in my head, she and Carrie like have a similar space. I met them sort of at a similar time, and we have like I know Tracy less well than I know Carrie, but I don't know either of them. I've never had them for dinner at my house, right?
Okay.
Like they're but I of course love them both. But so they operate in similar spaces in my mind, but I don't know if Tracy's a member of that or not.
Yeah, I think I've met her in some networking group somewhere. But
Yeah.
Mitchell Levy was the person who jumped out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so because I met him probably about 3 years ago, and had a sort of one-on-one session with him, and then I kind of followed his broadcast. He's always doing something interesting.
He is always doing something interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. Like the world is full of interesting people.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
Especially us.
Especially us. Especially us.
Yeah.
So tell me more about, so if you were going to work with a client, tell me how that works for you. Like, how do you find them in Merritt? Because you're in Merritt.
I haven't been doing things locally in Merritt. Though I was walking down the street one time, and I ran into the guy who owns the bowling alley, and she was asking what I was doing, and I said, well, one of the collaborations is total traffic and conversion, and we do online marketing. And he sort of said, well, why don't you do something locally? So I created a thing called Merit Stories, and we're starting to get out and talk to people locally, and I'm getting involved. I got a few things that I'm doing. So I am doing more.
So is Merritt mostly a summer?
No, nobody goes here for vacation.
Nobody goes there for
vacation. Okay. No, it's I don't. Okay,
so lives there, or maybe one of my son's friends I think taught there a couple years ago. Maybe
there's the Nicola Valley Institute of Technology, which is a native-run university. Its history is mostly the people in the area sort of ranching background, and then their declining number of forest operations here. It's like if you're driving from Hope to Kamloops, Merritt's a natural place to stop for a coffee and get some gas.
Right.
Like the town's full of electric charging stations, and then there's a really delightful First Nations bannock shop just a block and a half from here called Kakuli, nice. And Bonnie bakes bannock there on Saturday morning.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, it's really nice. So, and it used to be famous for a music festival, country music festival, like the Merritt Mountain Music Festival. So all of the North America's top music stars would be here, but they haven't really had much of a festival here for 10 years or so. Camp C got out of control. and then they got kind of fed up with it, and then they tried a more family friendly event that didn't really catch on. So there's there's a kind of a museum of country music here, and I've got photographs. There's almost every building downtown has a mural of country people on it. So it's quite darling, but it's not a vacation destination.
But okay. Yeah. Well, not everything has to be a vacation destination, truthfully.
No, but it's anyway, one of the projects I'm involved with is because there's 6 First Nations groups in the area.
Right.
7, depends on how you count. And I've been involved with 2 or 3 of them. And one of the projects I'm involved with is fellow Phil Dumont has started a program to train young people how to uh, work with horses, train horses, ride
Oh,
horses. Yeah. So right now it's all teenage girls. So it's a bit of an interesting thing. They're hoping to attract some guys into it, but
well,
yeah,
girls
so
love horses, man.
yeah, they love horses. Yeah, and but it's been interesting because we had a meeting in the community center with the local police and the people from the school. And anyway, I and a child and family services place. Anyway, all these girls are on their list for one reason or another. So I think they're just happy to give them something to do and not end up in
Yeah,
trouble sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's everybody's goal that has a teenager in their life, is to somehow get them onto the other end of being a teenager without causing trouble to themselves or other people that they can't recover from.
yeah. No, for sure. And it's yeah. So it's a bit of adventure. Phil has trouble having a boundaries because some of the girls will phone him at 2 a.m. asking for help for various things. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And
boundaries are
yeah,
interesting.
interesting. So that's a bit of an adventure, but it's so I'm helping them. They've
Maybe they
gone a
should
long
start a
way.
magazine.
What? For what?
Maybe they should start a magazine to keep themselves out of trouble.
Yeah. Well, I built a website. Well, actually, one of the things I'm probably going to do, they have a session on Wednesday afternoons, and I'm going to do a little presentation about what I do, and I made an invitation to them if they want to learn how to do video and websites and all that kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
And so maybe somebody will want to do a magazine.
maybe somebody will. Have
Yeah,
them call me. We'll work it out with them.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm happy to help with that kind of thing. That's, yeah, things in life that if you've got something interesting in your life, you have a lot less time to get into trouble.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And going back to the art thing, I was just thinking, creating art is one of the best ways to honor creation, really, right? To be
Yeah.
engaged in your life, whether it's physical beauty, photography, or anything. It's like it's really honoring creation.
Yeah.
So
Well, at
and
the
it's
same time, you light up that part of your brain, right? When you're creating something, no matter how complicated or simple, it really puts you in touch with all of the strength and the vibration of the universe. And it's just a really amazing way for young people to develop who they are and play at the boundaries of who they are, right?
yeah, for sure.
I think
Yeah.
we were talking about the other day about not knowing what we want to be when we grow up. And creation is that way that you keep kind of trying to figure it out. Like, will I figure out what I want to be when I grow up? You keep creating things and creating
Well,
things.
yeah, there's one like the Abraham Hicks view is that you're always, trying to appreciate where you're at, but you're putting up, something to work towards, right? So you
Yeah.
never get it done, never finish, never really get there. It's the journey is the most important part. I years ago I had so little success trying to promote artists. It's really hard to promote artists, and that I started painting myself, and I painted probably did nothing else than paint for about 6 months, and it was probably the most satisfying meditative thing I've ever done. But I don't want to do that. I discovered that you can ignore bills for 2 months, but you can't the third month, else it's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'd probably be playing music and doing art all of the time.
Are you musical as well?
Yeah, I used to play drums in a number of bands. Got tired of packing the drum kit around, so I started playing bass, and then I've played guitar, and
Yeah.
I've taken lots of piano lessons, but I still can't play anything.
Yeah, my brother-in-law was a drummer. He was a kicker in the CFL for 18 years or something. And on the
Yeah.
side he played the drums.
So who was that?
Paul Osbaldiston, he worked
Oh
for
yeah.
the Tie Cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
he wasn't run out of Saskatchewan for missing the field goal in the
No,
he ended up that's I can't remember his name, but he ended up in the in the Vancouver BC Lions because basically they were going to threaten to burn down his house because he missed a field goal. So he says, I better get out of town.
and really, I mean, in Saskatchewan, because I grew up in Regina. In fact, I think I lived in Regina at that time.
Yeah.
And we take that kind of thing very seriously.
I think Saskatchewan has the best fans in the country, really, because I've gone to a number of Grey Cup events in Vancouver, and Saskatchewan's there. They got tons of people there. They're hosting parties, and they're almost never in the Grey Cup, but they're always there.
The parties are fantastic.
Yeah.
I did a couple volunteer stints at Grey Cup things around Saskatchewan for various things and throwing parties, and we know how to drink when there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, no, you're not a drink, and you've got lots of alcohol and grain.
Yeah. And actually, the one and only Grey Cup my children ever went to was after Paul retired. He coached with Hamilton for a little while, and I think actually Hamilton played Saskatchewan that year, and we went for the Grey Cup, and Paul was coaching, and there wasn't a ticket for me, just like the way it was. Like we had 4 tickets, so my sister-in-law and my husband and both my kids went, and I read a book in the hotel, which was fine with me. It was cold out, but the one and only, and so parties in Saskatchewan, man, streets closed down,
for sure. Well, it's about the only professional gig in Saskatchewan, right? Really. So
it really is.
It's got support for everyone. And I'd say kind of funny. It was Anne's cousin in Saskatchewan. We were visiting her in the name just fell out of my head. It's not Regina, the other one. Anyway, Saskatoon. And anyway, she made a good plug. She said, Saskatchewan, people don't realize it has a bigger forest industry in northern Saskatchewan than the BC interior forest industry, and then you've got the grain, and then Saskatoon is a big destination for research farms, all sorts of pharmaceutical things, sorts of, because it's, it's relatively inexpensive, and they've got decent university and things, and then of course we got uranium and potash and other stuff. So she made a pretty good plug for Saskatchewan.
I always say all the best people in the world are from Saskatchewan.
Yeah,
because
I've got a story about Saskatchewan drivers though.
Oh.
So if you're driving along the road and somebody stops in the middle of the road for no apparent reason, chances are they're from Saskatchewan. Because they're not used to people being behind them. And anyway, we were in Prince Edward Island, and Anne's cousin, who was originally from Saskatchewan, is giving us a tour of the city, right? And he just stops in the middle of the road to point out something, right? Just right in the middle of the road. It's okay. It's not just a slander. It's true.
Right? Yeah. I am well known among everybody to be the worst driver in our circle of people.
Yeah. Well, Alberta has its own quirks too.
Listen, Calgary drivers are fantastic. We are perfect here. You get to Edmonton.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, hello, we're like, they don't even go the speed limit. Everybody is not in a hurry in Edmonton. It's remarkable. You closer you get to Edmonton, the slower traffic goes.
Yeah, well, somebody was saying they had moved from Toronto to Vancouver, and they said, "What the hell's going on here? You're driving along the highway. There's hardly any vehicles on there, and everybody's driving less than the speed limit for no apparent reason. What's that?" They
went through Edmonton, then not through Calgary. In Calgary, everybody is going fast as they can go.
Well, my thing is, I had a motorcycle, and I was driving on Highway 1.
Yeah.
And this car's in my lane coming straight at me, right? They had crossed the yellow line and were driving in my lane to pass. And I was just thinking, oh, yeah, well, that's interesting. I thought, okay, they're going to get back into traffic. No, they never did. I had to drive on the shoulder, and I'll say it would have hit me. like you would never do that in British Columbia because we have no shoulders that you can count on, right? That's how you end up down a ravine, down the
Yeah.
bottom of the canyon,
Yeah.
so, but it was, and the spin-off of that, if I was coming up on my motorcycle, somebody would drive on the shoulder to let me pass, which is that's something nobody would ever do in British Columbia, likely because you can't count on a shoulder.
Right. Yeah.
We had a discussion about BC versus Alberta one time, and one of my cousins said, yeah, you get into British Columbia, it's just mile after mile after mile of identical and monotonous green trees, and it's just, the mountains may be beautiful, but you're too terrified to look at them.
I mean, one of the benefits of being a bad driver from Saskatchewan is I rarely have to drive anywhere,
Yes.
because my husband, my children, everybody drives, and I sit in the passenger seat, which is fantastic. And so I get to see the scenery and read my book, and it's not a bad gig. Not a
Not
bad
a
gig
bad
at
gig.
all.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Bonnie's dad was living down in the Mojave Desert in California, and whenever we'd stay with them, like Bonnie would drive the car, I would drive. He would just sort of say, I got a self-driving car. He didn't have to drive. So,
Yep, that's my dream. That is
that's
my
your dream.
dream.
That's your
Yeah.
dream. Yeah. So anyway, so we're back to this digital magazine experience. I think anybody who's been publishing anything, blog posts, books, whatever, can consider adding a digital magazine to their
Yeah.
repertoire. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, if you've got a big blog following, we had a guy from Florida, he had a very large blog following, and it's very easy to make money as a magazine publisher if you've got a large following. It's very hard to make money from a blog, right? Like,
Yeah.
lots of people have big social media followings and little income to show from it. But to transfer that following into a magazine where people subscribe to so they're paying for your opinions rather than trying to find sponsors and whatever, it is a really great segue to get into publishing. If you've started with a blog or started with, you've got a giant Instagram following, all of those followers travel very well into magazine publishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do most of your clients do monthly, like regular monthly publications, or
No, I would say
someone
probably
else?
only about 10 or 15% are monthly. Like I'm quarterly, and lots
Okay.
are every other month.
Okay.
The wonderful thing about being digital too is it always lives online. You can always download it on your iOS or your Google Play or through our own app.
Yeah.
So you can always download it. And unless you're doing something that's really time sensitive, news magazines probably aren't really a good fit because you have to do them so often. But maybe they are. Who knows? You can do them for sure if that's your gig. But I would say most of our publishers are either every other month or quarterly.
It's almost like instead of putting out one book every 4 months, you put out 3 months, you put out a magazine, and maybe both. So,
Yeah, and when you pull in collaborators or people that are already writing about your subject, doing the writing itself is not necessarily your job. And there is just endless opportunities.
okay. And you mentioned it. One of the things that with Magcast is you can deliver through an app,
Yeah.
an Android or an iOS, an Apple app,
Yeah.
and you also have payment subscription support built into the app too.
All the subscription stuff. So as you build your magazine, all of that goes into the back end. So by the time your magazine is ready to go, you have your Apple app, you have your app through Google Play, and your magazines are available through the Magcast app, and all of the payments and all of the subscription things are all set up. So as soon as somebody buys something through your Apple link, you get the money from well, I don't know how often Apple pays, but as soon as they pay, it goes right into your account. That doesn't us. We don't take part of that. It goes straight to you. And all of that is baked into your magazine before you even press publish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I've got an article coming up that I've been meaning to pass for a while. Is when you're going through, like, and we publish things through Amazon and Ingram Spark, and
Yeah.
whether or not you get any money through there is a little touch and go. And we inherit people who have gone through so-called book consultants, and they publish their book. And once they paid their $15,000 to get their book out there, that's the last they hear about anything. Right?
Honestly,
So,
when I originally found Magcast, that was part of it too. Is I spoke to one of those book
yeah,
people that help you figure it out, and he was going to be $15,000 for the coaching part, plus another 10,000 or so for your Facebook and your Amazon ads. And I thought $25,000, that's a lot of books.
that's a lot of money.
It's almost impossible to imagine. I mean, and he has a Facebook page that I'm still a member of. Not a lot of people are making their investment back.
No, and sometimes it's not even that. It's more fun doing it yourself in many ways. It's like I traveled from I made a trip to Calgary. This is, I don't know, 8 years ago. Somebody I'd known through a business contact in Calgary wanted me to shoot video for a project, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, by the time I got there, I met her for coffee, and the reason for the video had evaporated.
Oh,
but she said she was working on a book called 50 Bad Dates. And anyway, I said, that sounds way more interesting than what you did. Yeah, but unfortunately, some book consultant who said, basically, I'll write the book for you for $15,000. No, I says, no, do it yourself. This is going to be way more fun. And then I told it to my cousin Max, and he says, does she want the 51st bad date? She can come down to my property down by Brooks and with the scorpions and the rattlesnakes, So, so I'm hoping she actually wrote it and put it out, because it'd be fun.
Well, it depends on who you're talking about, but I know a woman in Calgary who wrote a book, and I think it was called 51st.
Maybe it was. I don't know. It's probably the same person. I hope she did.
Yeah. She did a year of bad dates for a book.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like not having to go on first dates anymore. That's one of the benefits of my husband. Yeah, no, it's there's a lot of great reasons you could make a magazine out of 50 bad dates.
Yeah.
Don't know why you'd want to, but you could. I think that's where Damien comes in, right? Like you'd come in with that idea, and you'd have your first one-on-one with Damien, who's one of the principals, and he'd say to you, that's a bad idea. Like my first idea that I said to him, he's like, that's kind of boring, Jill. Try harder.
Yeah. Some people have a knack for that. I've known a few people. Kim Walsh Phillips is really good. She'll have a live event, and she'll put somebody up in the hot seat kind of thing. And then they'll, she'll ask them what they're doing. And they said, I think what you're really offering is, maybe a 40% shift from what they're doing, and just spinning it, because sometimes we're kind of the worst people to know what we're doing. Other people can see things more than we do. Like some of the things that probably are my best qualities, I'd never think of bringing them up.
I read once that the reason that is because the things that we are so good at, we assume everybody's good at.
Yeah.
So if it's a natural strength of yours and you're really good at it, you don't see it because you just assume everybody can do that because it's just so easy for you.
Yeah.
And for some people, the same things are hard. Yeah.
So I've posted your link, your email address, and the Calendly link.
Excellent.
And if you're curious, you should probably go out and visit magcast.ca. There we go, magcast.co.
And if you go to magcast.net, that'll also take you to a link, presumably, that will allow you to book time with me or Kevin, depending on the day.
I'll see if that's working now.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect.
I know. I was going to put my little. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, yeah, just magcast.net forwards to your
Yeah.
Calendly link. Yeah. So there we
Yeah,
go.
and that just allows you. So if you have thoughts or questions or, just want to get to know us better, we're
Yeah.
happy to chat.
Happy to chat.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, this has been fun.
it has been fun. This
Yeah.
is the
Well.
first time I've ever been on a podcast.
Oh.
I'm brand new at this.
Well, you've never been on. Okay.
I've
There you
never
go.
done one. I've got a couple more booked that I'm going on in the next little bit, but you are my first. I will
Okay. Well,
always remember
when
you.
you have your next book, maybe we'll talk again about
Sure.
your. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one. There should be a book coming out shortly. I'm just waiting for Laura to finish her edits and stuff, and then I'll polish it one more time. And yeah, I will reach out to you again then.
Yeah. So I think you know Steve Brosman.
So funny Steve Brosman story. I only met him last week for the very first time. We were in the same group in a group on JV Directory the
Okay.
day before I talked to you, or 2 days before I talked to you,
Yeah.
and you brought him up. Yeah, I've only met him last week.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, he teaches a course on how to monetize podcasts.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we touched base and we we did another broadcast with him about what he's doing. Anyway, about 3 years ago, we met him on some networking group, and Bonnie and I had him on our Storyvan TV, and he said that was his very first broadcast. So,
Wow. And
yeah.
now
So,
we're 3 years later, and
and,
he's making hundreds of
and
thousands of dollars a year as a podcast guest.
yeah, and I know he's making some money because he sent me an affiliate commission. So,
You must be good luck.
I guess so. But he's making way more money doing this than I am, for sure. So
Yeah,
I do it for
actually,
fun. I enjoy doing it. I do a broadcast. Probably I facilitate a couple and I lead a couple every 4 week. So
oh, good. Yeah.
and if I just have something I want to get off, I'll just load up StreamYard and teach something. So
There you go. That's
yeah.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I follow you on LinkedIn now, so I'll see
Yeah,
all
yeah.
those,
So
which is interesting. Yeah,
we'll launch your book. We'll help you launch your book. So
I'll be there. I will be there, Greg. Awesome.
okay.
Have a
And next
wonderful
time in
rest of your
Calgary,
day.
we'll have to have coffee.
Yes, do. Yeah. And if I ever stop at Merritt for gas, I'll let you know before I get there.
Almost anybody going to Vancouver has to go through by Merritt, right?
Yeah, there you go.
It's not, you have to turn off the highway, but it's
You have to turn off the highway. You have to stop somewhere.
you have to stop somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, it was wonderful to talk to you. We'll see you soon.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And there we go.